How to master small talk with women.
Your ability to have powerful, engaging small talk with women will ultimately dictate whether or not you can actually carry a conversation and land dates when you're interacting with women. And so what I want to do in this video is break down everything you need to know to master small talk, to have more engaging interactions with women that can lead to dates. So the very first part of this is you asking questions. Small talk is get to know you talk, where you ask a question, the girl gives an answer, then you give some sort of response, the girl will then give another answer. And most men mess this up massively. And there's only a couple small tweaks that you really need to do, but let me just break this down for you and then I'll show you what the actual structure to a conversation should look like. So you're gonna ask a question. Now, on a very basic, simplistic level, this is gonna be, what do you do for work? What do you do for fun? Where do you live? How's your day going? How's your week? Do you have anything fun planned for the weekend, right? Basic small talk questions that you would ask women. This could be at the beginning of a date. Doesn't really matter where, but you're gonna ask questions. Now, based on this, the girl is then going to give an answer, right? Pay attention to her level of engagement when she responds, because this will ultimately dictate her buying temperature, which I'll get to later on in this video. But if you understand her buying temperature and how to raise that, that's essentially going to put you in a position where you could actually set up a date. Guys prematurely try to set up dates when the buying temperature is really low because they're not doing the things I'm explaining in this video. And that's when you get I have a boyfriend, I don't really give my number out like that. It was nice to meet you. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. You're a really good guy. Take care, right? So pay attention to her answer, because based off of her level of engagement, is she reciprocating in the conversation? Like if you ask her, you know, what do you do for fun? And she tells you, does she ask you back the same question? Is she giving you an enthusiastic response? Is she giving you a one-word answer? And also pay attention to her body language. Is she actually like giving you eye contact? Is she smiling? Is she warm and welcoming? Or is she dismissive and kind of closed off and very cold? So all of these elements of her answer are gonna dictate, is she cold? Is she on like the low end of interest level? Is she more neutral, or is she very warm, right? Don't think too deep into this initially, because when you're just starting a conversation, guys, it's on you to bring that vibe and that energy into it. And I think a lot of guys make the mistake of starting a conversation, and then the moment the girl's not really warm, they get in their head thinking, okay, this is awkward, she's not really warm, and they eject, not realizing that most women that are high quality or very attractive or have a lot of options, they're not just gonna be extremely warm at the very beginning of an interaction. They need to see signals from you that you're confident, that you have a high level of charisma, that you have a strong frame. All of the things I want to discuss from these answers that will actually show honest signals to the woman that you are high value. So initially, I would just go in expecting it to be rather neutral at the beginning of an interaction. But to bring this back to the structure, you're gonna ask a question, she's gonna give an answer. Now there's 4 main things that you could do to respond to her answer. And these are actually ranked in order, right? I think most men, they're pretty much down here. Number 4, which is they just say, oh, cool. They ask a question, what do you do for work? Oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, that's cool. So where'd you go to law school? And she said, oh, I went to University of Pennsylvania. Oh, that's cool. When was that? When did you graduate, right? So they ask a question, she gives an answer. They then just go into an acknowledgement, and then they go back into the next question, another cold answer, because you're giving very short answers. And so the buying temperature just goes lower and lower and lower, and that's actually gonna kill the conversation. Now, I will say that it's actually okay to give occasionally these small little acknowledgements. I'm not a master, and every single time I'm doing these other ones. Occasionally, that's okay. But what we want to avoid is just consistently going question, answer, small acknowledgement, question, answer. That's just gonna keep lowering the buying temperature. Now, as I'm going through this structure, if you're thinking to yourself, damn, my conversation skills are really bad, or I'm just not approaching, I'm not getting into enough interactions, or I'm not talking to the quality of women that I really want in my life, I can help you accelerate this process. If you want to work with me directly to achieve your dream dating life, click the link down below. Check out the brand new in-depth training I have. I talk more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you get real results right now in your dating life. Link is down below. Check that out. Let's get back into the video. So the other 3 main tools that you want to use, and these are actually in order. Number 1 would be tease. So if you ask the girl one of these questions and then she gives an answer, I'm always thinking first, is there a way that I could tease her based off of her answer. That will always be my main go-to because it gets us off of the logical headspace of the conversation and creates an emotional reaction within the girl. And that is very close to actually flirting with a woman. And that's really where we want to be at in the conversation. Men never tease, and so it never will even have a chance of getting off the ground or ever becoming flirty, right? But when you can get good at this, you could pretty much have any type of conversation and find a way to start provoking more emotion. So easy ways to tease, if nothing else, you want to start getting playful in the conversation. So if she said she's a lawyer, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? How could you make this fun and playful and about the girl? And a lot of that comes with your delivery. So I can't tease a girl if I'm just kind of talking like this. Oh, you're a lawyer. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to argue with you. Like, that's fucking lame, as you could tell, but it's all in the delivery. That same answer that actually could have been a flavorful answer if you said it in a playful vibe. Oh, you're a lawyer. Oh, so you must be pretty good at arguing, right? You can actually make a little bit of a tease about that. You must be pretty good at arguing. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any problems, all right? So it's a fun, playful answer, and it doesn't need to be this every single time, but if you have an opportunity to tease, you want to bring that into the interaction. Now, from there, let's say we can't actually think of something to tease her on. I think the next best answer would be you provide some sort of value. You demonstrate some sort of value based on the topic, which you may or may not be able to do. So lawyer, I don't really have any type of involvement with lawyers or legalities around things. So there's no way that I could actually provide value to that question, right? So in this case, I don't have any value to talk about with that specific topic. But that's how you could do it. So let's say we were talking about working out. She said, oh, if I said, how was your day going? How was your weekend? She said, oh, I was actually, I went to the gym, I hit a yoga class, and I was at home cooking some healthy food. That's something I could actually deliver value into because I'm very well versed with calories, macros, workouts, losing weight, hitting the gym. Like I've put 20 years into that. So I have a lot of value that I could demonstrate in a variety of different ways on that topic, right? So that's one I could actually demonstrate value. I would probably just start talking about her macros or her workouts or her calories or different exercises or workout routines or mesocycles or cuts, just kind of depending on what she's doing in the gym. Anytime you can provide value or demonstrate value in an interaction, that's very attractive to women, right? I do still think though that teasing is actually more powerful, but just depending on the topic, you may be able to tease. If you have nothing to tease, is this something I could actually deliver value or demonstrate value on? And then if nothing else, my main default answer is gonna be personal input. Meaning, okay, I have nothing to tease her on. There's no way I can demonstrate value on this, but what I definitely don't want to do is just give a tiny one-word answer of acknowledgement, like, oh, that's cool. Or how's your day going? Good, how about you? Good, you? Right? That's like, I have nothing else to say. I'm like scanning through these, good, you, right? So if nothing else though, your absolute lowest level default should be just giving some sort of personal input into the topic. So she said lawyer, right? What do you do for work? Oh, I'm a lawyer. I'm not in a teasing headspace. I have nothing to tease her on. I have no sort of value on that. I can talk about my experience on the topic if nothing else, because I don't want to just go completely cold and then go into another question. So my experience of lawyer, well, let's see, I got arrested when I was younger. I've been involved with the law. I had to go to drug court. I almost went to law school myself. I was criminal justice undergrad. And then I took the LSAT 3 different times. I was about to apply to law school. After shadowing lawyers, I ultimately concluded it wasn't really a good fit for me. So I have a lot of personal input I could actually talk about when it comes to lawyers. So my tease wasn't that good, honestly. Like it could be, depending on the vibe and where you're at in the interaction with the girl. That's one thing you could have done. Value, I didn't really have much value to give. Personal input, I have a lot of personal input that I could talk about on this topic. And we really want to avoid this answer at all costs. This is just worst case scenario, you got nothing else to say, in which case you give an acknowledgement, but then quickly I'm going on to the next question, just to avoid just an awkward silence in an interaction. So it's okay to do any one of these. And even from time to time, I'll even show you clips where I'll ask a question, the girl just gives me a fucking basic answer, and then I just ask another question because I didn't have anything to say from these other three.
So you came out for 2 days?
Got here yesterday. We're here till Monday.
Okay, cool. Like, are you trying to go to like a promoter table and like get drunk and like listen to hip hop and shit? Because that's kind of like what the vibe is. What are you?
I'm mixed with Asian too.
Oh, okay. What do you got going on? What's up?
And so it's totally okay to ask questions. That's part of small talk. You want to get good at get to know you talk, you got to be able to ask questions and be curious when you're asking the questions. But a big part of it is not just asking questions and listening, it's being able to carry the conversation using these tools. So let me show you a couple different conversation structures and why some of them would work and some of them wouldn't work. So we already went over the most basic one, which is you ask a question, girl gives a very basic answer, and then you just go into small acknowledgement. That you go into another question, basic answer, small acknowledgement. Buying temperature is just going down that way because you're not really doing any of the tools that I talk about. Let's look at a slightly different example. I ask a question, girl gives an answer. I have nothing really to talk about, but I give the personal input, right? So I talk about my experience about how I almost went to law school, right? But after shadowing lawyers and taking the LSAT 3 different times, I don't know, I just ultimately concluded I wasn't passionate about it. And so I just couldn't commit. I couldn't commit to law school. And so, yeah, I ended up with this criminal justice degree. And long story short, I ended up being a private investigator actually for 5 years, right? So that's a different answer. That will actually get a response. That will take a cold response and probably push it towards neutral, or if it was already neutral, now the girl's warming up and I'll start to get a more flavorful answer from her because of how much input I gave on that topic. And then that will go into a new question. So she'll give another answer. And if I just stay on personal input and I just stay here, like back and forth between these two, it will be a friendly conversation. Okay, it will be a friendly conversation. We may even have some commonalities because I'm talkative. Like if you've ever met a guy, he's not good at game and he's not that smart. He can just talk. You ever meet somebody who like doesn't shut up, but they can actually talk and they're charismatic? It's because they're good at this. They don't really bring much value into the conversation. So you're not really extracting much value, which is why you're like, this guy doesn't shut up. If somebody was talking a lot and there was a lot of value, you wouldn't be thinking, this guy doesn't shut up. You'd be thinking like, this is valuable. Like I gotta either hire this guy or this is somebody I should have in my life. This is a good resource to have. You wouldn't be thinking that. When someone only is just talking, it's better than nothing. It's better than awkward conversation, but if you're just doing this too, you may have commonalities with the person, but you may not, right? And so you can use this as a tool, but it's just the baseline tool. Now, if we did these two, and then we also add in value, right? Let's say we ask question, girl gives answer, I give some value, and then buying temperature goes up, ask another question, gets a response, I give some personal input, and then that goes back, I go back and forth between value and personal input and some acknowledgement. That will start to create a dynamic of like a formal or professional relationship, right? If you ever had a relationship with a mentor or a teacher or something like that, it's pretty much because they asked questions and you gave answers and then they were giving a lot of value. So you extracted value, but there was there really wasn't much of an emotional connection there, and there was probably minimal personal input. So all you did was just extract value, and that created a very professional, formal dynamic between the two of you, right? That could have been with another male or even like a female, right? So like I just got off of a call with my therapist. There wasn't much teasing going on. There wasn't much of this. It was mainly me giving personal input, and then like occasionally there was some value from her end. Right? And that was the dynamic that was created there. So value is great, but if it's only value, you're missing this main part. Like this is absolutely essential. If you don't create emotions and you keep it on a very logical level the entire time, it's gonna be very hard to transition into a man to woman dynamic, right? So ideally, you wanna have a balance between these four. You ask questions, you get answers, and then if I can't tease, I'm going into, can I give value? Okay, no. I can give personal input though. So I start talking about that. I might get an answer from her. And then we keep going through this. And really what I do in my interactions is I have a bunch of different tools that I can use to tease women, right? Because I've been in enough interactions and I have a bunch of different concepts that I teach on my channel and with my clients. I break down their interactions and I pause the conversations as we're going through these interactions. I'm showing you, this is how we could have teased here. This is how we could have teased here. You gave a flat answer here. You should have probably demonstrated value there or gave some personal input there, right? So you need to be assessing your conversations, and you're most likely hovering way too much down here and not enough on these two. And really what I'm doing in conversation is I'm giving answers, I'll ask a new question, and I'm jumping topic to topic to topic, waiting for opportunities to tease or build value. When you can do this properly, you can take a normal, boring, platonic conversation, spike emotion into it by teasing, and raise attraction or interest level by demonstrating value when you're doing things properly. So these are all the different tools you should be doing when it comes to mastering small talk. If you do this properly, it's gonna raise the buying temperature to get to a place where you could actually start to flirt. All right, if it's on a very low level here and you try to make it more man to woman, you go for a phone number or you try to display intent and her interest level is low, she's just simply not ready to receive that information, and that's why you end up getting rejected. Now, as I'm going through the structure, if you're thinking to yourself, damn, my conversation skills are really bad, or I'm just not approaching, I'm not getting into enough interactions, or I'm not talking to the quality of women that I really want in my life, I can help you accelerate this process. If you want to work with me directly to achieve your dream dating life, click the link down below. Check out the brand new in-depth training I have. I talk more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you get real results right now in your dating life. That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.